Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are um, getting into some source material that is, well, it's pretty extraordinary.
It really is. We're looking at these detailed claims about non-terrestrial consciousness, the starseed phenomenon. And it's all drawn from some really rigorous subliminal investigation.
And that's what makes this such a challenge, right? For us and for you listening.
Mm-hmm.
Because our mission here is sort of twofold.
Exactly. First, we have to unpack the very specific mechanics of how these starseeds are supposed to incarnate here on Earth. But then, right after that,
We have to turn around and use the source's own critical framework to question how reliable any of that information actually is.
it's a fascinating paradox built right into the material.
It really is. So the core idea is the Semilla Estelar, the starseed, a small piece of a huge non-terrestrial intelligence that is incarnated here. We're going to get into their adaptation, etheric DNA.
And then we're going to hit that pivot hard to the warnings about, information contamination and what real research in this field is supposed to look like.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So, to start, what are we even looking at? When these consciousnesses are seen in a subliminal state, they first appear, well, sort of humanoid.
But that's not their real form.
Not at all. The source says that shell is incredibly thin. Almost immediately they shift. They become what's described as luminescent or just pure energy and information. They're completely dynamic.
And coming here, incarnating on Earth, it's not some gentle process.
Oh, no. It's intense. The consciousness gets thrown into what the source literally calls tornadoes of information.
Tornadoes of information. What does that even mean?
It's this chaotic, massive data dump that forces an internal expansion. It's a necessary shock to the system so it can start adapting to this whole new environment.
Like a lightning strike that forces a tree to grow in a certain way.
That's a great way to put it. Without that expansion, it would just be overwhelmed. It couldn't connect or couple with the physical body at all.
And that coupling process that's where the trouble starts, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you try to connect that non-terrestrial data to our physical form, to the etheric DNA.
Precisely. The source describes it as incredibly difficult. It makes sparks. It's basically an energetic short circuit. It takes a long, very intentional process to achieve what they call a couple, the coupling.
It's not an accident. It's design growth.
Right. There's just this huge mismatch between the vastness of that energy and the sheer density of the human body it's trying to inhabit.
It sounds like trying to stream an 8K movie over an old dial-up modem. The system just sputters and rejects the input.
That is a perfect analogy for the struggle.
Right.
And we also need to be clear about what seed means here. It's not the whole intelligence.
Right. It's just a tiny piece.
A very small piece of themselves, as the source says, left in different dimensions to experience that specific creation.
Which means the idea of the essence being pure is a little misleading.
It's only pure for a split second at the moment of its creation from the source. The instant it's deposited into a new reality, it starts to change, mix, interact, transform.
You have to adapt.
It has to. The transformation begins immediately.
Okay, let's go back. The source of these seeds, the material calls it the infinite creator.
Yes. And it's described as an intelligence, an energy, maybe what some would call God, but it's infinite, uncreated. The definition given is energy in movement with consciousness.
Uncreated. So if you ask, who created the creator?
The answer is nobody. There is no creator for it. It just is. It's the source of all movement.
So why? What's the motivation for sending out all these seeds into, countless different realities?
And the answer is almost shockingly simple.
Experience.
Just experience. That's it. The creator salts the seed, it just lets it go and completely trusts in that seed's ability to transform and adapt. No strings attached.
Wait, that's it? Just experience? After all this talk of energetic tornadoes and etheric DNA, the goal is that simple.
It seems so. The source implies the quality of the experience doesn't matter to the creator. The transformation, the act of experiencing is the point. Good, bad, difficult, it's all just experience being generated.
And I guess Earth is a pretty good place to generate intense experience.
One of the best. It's described as having this intense energy flow, like massive toroids of energy, plus a colossal information flow. It creates an environment for just limitless, rapid transformation.
A high-speed, high-density school for consciousness.
You could say that, yeah, which explains why so many are here.
The numbers you mentioned before are huge.
Staggering. The source suggests that up to 90% of beings on Earth right now are starseeds. But, and this is huge, but most are not conscious of it at all. They're just slogging through that slow, difficult adaptation process.
90%. And if they're struggling, that brings us to why it's so hard for them to figure out their origin.
Exactly. The creator entity itself points out that the environment here is designed to make you look outward.
To religions, philosophies, belief systems.
All of it. All these complex external structures that just confuse the simple truth that's already inside. The advice is to ignore all that and focus on an absolute state of presence right now. Then your origin doesn't even matter.
But if you have all this intense energy transforming here, you're going to attract pests. Let's talk about the remoras.
Yes, the remoras. You can think of them as energetic suction cups. They don't attach to the core essence, but to the energy that's in transformation. They're drawn to that chaotic surface layer.
And their goal is what? Just to interfere?
To manipulate and distort. They generate impulses to mess with that inner purity by going straight for the ego.
The source has a great image for the ego.
It's brilliant. A thin layer of caramel on the surface. The remoras feed that layer by making the person feel unique, special, different.
That sticky layer of caramel. So they just latch onto that and turn the starseed into a kind of marionette.
That's the word used, a marionette. And one of the best ways to control the puppet is to reinforce that feeling of not belonging, that deep aversion to being in a physical body.
Which makes them constantly look for a way out.
A way back to a supposed origin, like Sirius or Andromeda. But the source says that origin is usually just another transformation happening at the same time somewhere else. The remoras program them to look for an external rescue that will never come.
But if the creator's whole thing is trusting the seed, why allow this interference? Doesn't that break the trust?
That's the question, isn't it? But the source doesn't see it as a failure. It's just part of the experience of this density. To really transform, the seed has to learn to see through manipulation. The remoras are just part of the curriculum.
Part of the obstacle course. That
Yeah.
makes a strange kind of sense. Okay, before we pivot, what about the other 1%?
Right. The source is very specific that about 1% of the population here are original or Terrans.
Souls that are native to Earth.
Exactly. Pure to this creation. And their journey, their connection to the planet is completely different. It's powerful in its own way, but it's not the starseed path.
Okay, so we've just laid out this incredibly detailed, wild map of cosmic incarnation and manipulation. Now we have to do the second part of our job and apply the source's own critical lens to everything we just said. Here's where it gets really interesting.
And this is the essential context. If you're going to take any of this seriously, you have to accept the baseline finding of the methodology, which is that information gathered through hypnosis for research is highly contaminated.
Not just a little bit biased, highly contaminated.
It's the default state.
So what are the main sources of that contamination? What do researchers have to screen for?
There are two big ones you can't ignore. First is external. The information is traveling through, multiple dimensions, minds, densities. It can get intercepted by those remoras who, consciously or not, just twist the data before it even gets to the person.
And the second one is internal.
The internal one. It's the person's own perspective, their beliefs, their mentality, their hopes. It all contaminates the data. If someone is convinced they're from the Pleiades, it's almost impossible for that belief not to shape the story they tell.
Which basically means that almost any single hypnotic regression session you see online is, well, it's mostly noise.
The source is so clear about this. Taking data from just one session is dangerously misleading. You can't treat it like pure gold. It's just contaminated narrative.
So if a single session is useless for research, what does it actually take to get valid data in this field? What's the protocol?
It requires an incredibly rigorous protocol of research sessions. And we're not talking about a dozen sessions or even 100.
I'm not talking thousands.
Hundreds or even thousands of sessions. The volume is non-negotiable.
Why so many? What does that volume do?
It's how you filter out the contamination. The protocol has to be univocal. You ask the exact same questions to thousands of different people, different lives, different beliefs. You need that massive sample size to cancel out the individual bias.
So you're basically looking for the signal in the noise. You throw out all the unique, cool stories.
You have to. You keep only the tiny percentage of information that is common to all or almost all of those thousands of sessions. That's the valid finding. Those are the nuggets of gold.
Can you give an example?
Sure. The reason the source validates claims about, say, reptilian or insectoid interferences is because that specific detail has shown up independently over and over again in tens of thousands of sessions over decades. That commonality is the only thing that counts as proof.
This whole protocol is crucial context.
Mm.
It shows that the people behind this research are making these huge metaphysical claims on one hand.
While also having this strict self-policing scientific mandate to fight misinformation on the other. It's kind of amazing.
It forces you to take it more seriously. Okay, last point. Let's talk about the idea that humans are involutionated or, devolved.
Right, which is an idea often pushed by the interferences themselves to keep people feeling helpless and looking for a savior.
So what's the truth, according to the source?
It says the exact opposite is true. The complexity of human life, our energy, our potential, it makes our race attractive to millions of species. If we were simple or unevolved, no one would be interested.
So the feeling of being unevolved is just a symptom of the interference.
It's a lack of knowledge of our own massive capabilities combined with the control of interferences. It's a manufactured perception.
So what does this all mean? We've gone through these incredible claims about star seeds and etheric DNA, only to have the source itself tell us that most of what people think they know about is probably contaminated data.
It's a huge lesson in, I think, informational self-governance. The real takeaway from the creator entity itself in this material is that the path isn't external. It's not about finding a label like Syrian or Andromedan.
Because that external search is the distraction.
It's the trap. It's the program designed by the interferences. The actual truth is simple, and it's only found inside.
And that inner truth, that transformation, it's always happening.
Always. The source uses this amazing metaphor. It describes our limiting beliefs like needing to know your cosmic origin as ties, ropes holding down a magnificent tree that's trying to expand. So the question for you to think about is, what current belief, what external search, what label are you holding on to that might be one of those ties holding back your own internal expansion?